Do you want me to tell you no? Oh, please don't tell me no. Oh, please don't tell me no. At least give me a chance to keep the fantasy, to keep the hope going. That maybe tomorrow, at least don't do anything that can pollute the fantasy. Don't tell me no. When you're groveling because you don't have the skill sets, you don't have the strategy and the plans, the experience, and a foundation, a physical power foundation to bounce off of, push off of, and you're groveling, searching around the city of New York City, Manhattan, looking around everywhere for fantasies that you can take and put together and nurture and caress and weave stories around it where you are the protagonist. And keeping the fantasies, keeping the fantasy material as pristine, pure as possible, making absolutely certain no speck of contradictory reality can shine its light in. It's more than what I had before. I could never have this. It's that type of stinking thinking that generates a self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm sorry to be the one to say it. The best presentations, as I see it, must be done with minimum effort, in a calm, possessed voice of extreme critical thinking and responsibility, and always displaying self-awareness every step of the way. In other words, it demonstrates, let my converse demonstrate, that every word I'm talking about, I'm aware of what's around me. I'm aware of how I'm behaving, what my posture's like, what my voice print sounds like, what my proximus is like, that my distance to my subject. And you have to proceed cautiously. You go by invitation only. That puts a man in a very bad position. But sometimes if he's a short, small man, and to be short connotates small, and he can't attain or hold attention of any quality, and figuratively and literally, the man just doesn't exist to be taken seriously in any situation. What should he do? How does he survive that? Well, one way is to succumb, lay down, and become a victim of humiliating fantasy material grubbing, and setting up your cast of characters, which has to be your heroes up there. So you're searching the streets of Manhattan for hero figures you can remember, for the women that you want to, you would like to be accepted by them, and you know that's impossible, and you have to remember what you've seen. So you have to do very, very, very good visualization, eye-brain memories. And the memory recreation for later, the fantasy recreation for later, has to be as credible as you, so you have to sell it to yourself as credibly as possible. Just like you were going to your own guru. Guru's getting all the hugs, Guru's getting all the attention, and the rest of us are vicariously pretending to get it through him, through the guru. Well, you have to be your own guru to yourself. And you live in a world of nothing but vicarious pretense. And everything is centered around developing better and better skills to become more credible in creating a fantasy and having the vicarious pretense interaction. In a self-contained matrix. Whatever you have to do. I'm very grateful for my culture. My society gives me many phony ways to escape and to assuage performance anxiety and provide myself with an ample excuse for a failure to perform when it counts. And watching everything, clear my throat, watching everything evaporate right before my eyes. And the only reality becomes a perpetual and continuous hunting down for the best sexual social fantasy. I'm the actor, I'm the writer, I set the script, I'm the cameraman in my mind's eye, and I'm the director. And the whole project is, of course, a losing effort. And it's predicated on trying to feel justified and be able to live with this type of reality. And claiming victory in fantasy only. If you're not in shape, your body isn't strong, and you're 5'2.5" in Manhattan or anywhere, you're a non-entity. You're not taken seriously, and you're going to watch yourself be in the predicament I've spent a lot of time describing, to where you find yourself groveling for pictures, for fantasies. You watch your movie heroes, you watch your television, whatever you call heroes. You got heroes all over the place. You look at your models and you fantasize entering the room with a big blonde and a big brunette on each arm. And then I walk around, look at myself in the store mirrors, and I see how squat and dumpy I look. I'm horrified. The result is I'm horrified. Panic-stricken, horrified, paralyzed to act. And this incentivizes more and more fantasy creation. More and more myth-making. And more future dreaming. In the future, when I get my 20-inch arms. In the future, when I realize the Charles Atlas dream and I become a He-Man, I become an Atlas He-Man. And then I get to kick the dust back in the bully's eyes and take my girlfriend back from him. But which girlfriend ever existed in the first place? I just invented it. And Aubrey was her name. I never knew her, but I loved her just the same. I loved wish that I could find the words and the meanings that would make her stay. And Aubrey was her name. I never knew her, I never knew her, but I loved her just the same. I loved her name. Wow, there it is. And Aubrey was her name. I never knew her, just a figment of the imagination, but I loved her just the same. How does a man live with himself in that kind of world, in that kind of reality? Let's take a little time. Let's meditate on this. Let's absorb it. Let's walk around in this man's shoes for a little bit and let them pinch you just a little to see what it's like. That's empathy. You cannot listen to a man without empathy. You cannot claim character without empathy. You don't know what to say. You will yip, yammer, babble, and yowl. Just trying to come up with trivial, farcical conversation. And you'll quit because there's just so much of this triviality you can take. There comes a time when a man has to look at himself in the mirror and resolve on what he sees there and pronounce judgment on himself, the physical limitations, the psychological limitations, all the conditionings, the engrams that have to be successfully challenged and re-educated and retaped over. It's a massive task. In lieu of that, you have to work with what you've got in the now to work with. In my case, I got my big fat belly, as you could see. Big old moon face, no neck, projected head. Look at this big fat belly. God damn it, look at this belly. Big belly. Big fat, ooh, wee, look at this belly. Big fat belly never does anything, especially at 5'2½". That's all. What are you going to do? I call it the Marty syndrome, from the great movie Marty with the great Ernest Borgnine in a once-in-a-lifetime performance. Marty, hey Marty, why don't you go out to the Waverly Gardens? There's some nice tomatoes there. Meet a nice girl, Marty. Every Saturday you sit home and watch your hit parade. Why don't you go out, Marty? Mama, please, please, go to the Waverly Gardens. Go here, go there. All I get for my trouble is heartache. You're stuck with a bachelor. I'm just a short, small man. I'm just a little ugly, short, small man. Give me a break. I'm miserable enough. The Marty syndrome. And then you try to come up with your plans for your Saturday night. You go to the Saturday night dances. But then when you get there, you find you can't approach any woman, just too short. If he approaches, I get turned down. The only hope is to approach him on a fast dance. That's all there is to it. And we end up dancing by ourselves. You take your jacket off and you dance by yourself. I spend many a time dancing by myself. And then you go home and stand in a corner, jig and cry, to try to get ready, because you got to get rid of the tension. You've got to get rid of the tension. Then you try to come up with quirks and mannerisms and talismans, special clothes you hope will produce the magic you need. And of course, this works perfectly for the marketplace because you buy, just like today, you buy the products. Because it has a sign on it, you're going to pay 3 times as much as what the garbage is worth. And they market that ruthlessly, sadistically. The only thing I can tell you, brother, is you're not alone, brother, my brother. There's a lot of us out there. You're not alone, my brother. This is the short, small man syndrome that I'm describing very directly. Today, all I'm going to do is just describe the phenomenon. My other talks, of course, I never turned a cheek for it and go on my back like a pineapple and quit. But here I'm putting that aside just to make sure that my listeners understand what we're dealing with here, as only I could tell it. And this that I'm talking right here is the most powerful, rational argument for pornography you possibly make as an adjunct, as an escape, as relief, not only of sexual frustration, but social frustration too. I make an argument that it is a boon when it is followed and listened to with maturity and discipline. And I always make the argument where it is a sexual impulse. There must ego be in control of the superego, which is the part of the brain that's the policeman in the head, for want of a better way. That's the cop in the head to control the impulse. And that's where you have to know vian and vios, time and place. And you have to be fully indoctrinated in one word: appropriate. Always think, is it appropriate? When you decide to act on any impulse, always ask yourself, is it appropriate? And then go ABC, alternatives, behaviors, and consequences. So you have to do a huge chunk of critical self-evaluation before you act. I always tell anybody that. Step back, peruse, take it easy, peruse. But then if you peruse too much and you're too cautious, you miss the opportunity. Now you're in a paradox. And you have to make sure of the vital balance. That's the life force, the vital balance. But you can't depend on hope, you can't depend on luck, you can't depend on a good Samaritan, you can't depend on a rescuer. For better or for worse, you own your own care. None has the time. Each has their own. Don't come to me with your problems. I got my own. I'll only listen to your problems if you pay me. You're going to have to pay me a lot to listen to it. And I'll tell you whatever you want to hear if you pay me enough. This is the cold hard reality. The expert, the so-called expert. If you pay me enough, I'll tell you whatever you want to hear. I'll give you the hope to keep you going for one more day. And gets back to our topic. Martin, do you want me to tell you no? No. Please don't tell me no. Please don't tell me no. Let me hope that in the future I'll have a chance to get what I can't get now. It's in the 70s. We're going back to the 70s, sexual revolution. And of course, what I'm talking about here is the free sex, whatever that means. But no one tells you in those days you needed the drugs, you needed to look the right way, you needed to come up with the right language, the right politics. Now, when I expose the practicalities of the situation, it's not so easy anymore. But whatever you do, you can't do anything if you don't own it. If you don't say, I did it to myself. I'm the creator of my reality, every bit of it. Because there are not major solutions, but an accumulation of small solutions leading to major results.